everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Looking for Group podcast. How's it going? It's Monica, Alex, and Jesse back at ya.
Hey.
How's it
going? Back to all of our listeners.
All 2 of you.
For all of our listeners out there, I want to share a revelation I've had, and it's concerning the tea bag. I learned that tea bags, and especially if you use 2 tea bags, have an insanely long life. So I've been using the same tea bag, and maybe this is a little gross, for 4 days now.
Whoa!
And it's still producing deliciously strong tea.
I thought you were talking about the bad manner tea bag, like in
Halo
games,
or, yeah. Spamming X.
I want to share a fact about the tea bag. I want to share a fact about the tea pose. Something that I'm realizing right now is that, so I've got the situation where my camera, someone complimented me on my camera quality the other day. And I was like, oh, it's all the lighting. You can see I have a ring light. I can line it up with my pupils, even with the glasses.
Highlights your cheekbones.
But it's not a bad, it's like a 1080p camera, but you can see, you can see in the back, it has a fisheye effect. And so do you see how my painting looks like it's like bending to the right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Mine's doing that too.
Why would whoever made Logitech, if you're watching, why'd you make your camera with a fisheye effect in the background? That's my question.
I don't know.
Maybe we're all just fishing a ball, Alex. Maybe that's
possible. Jay, do you want to introduce the topic of conversation today?
No. No, yeah, I will. So we're talking about the college essay, and specifically esports in the college essay, and how to effectively write a college essay if you're a high school student or the parent of a high school student around esports in whatever capacity. You don't have to be a grandmaster StarCraft 2 player to make a great essay about esports. You can be whatever kind of gamer and really write a strong essay. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. And I think, to set the stage here for Al, and as Al mentioned in our first podcast, he has a background in college counseling. He's worked a ton with high school students who are working on their college application and going through the admissions process. And Al, you've written 10 million or helped students write 10 million college essays. I hope you didn't write them 10 million for them. But yeah, I'd love to just sort of hear your thoughts. And Monica, I know too, you have a background in admissions and probably have something to say on the topic as well. But yeah, what's sort of your high level take on esports and how it fits in with the college essay and admissions generally?
It's a really funny coincidence because we actually just wrote a 10,000 word guide about the esports college essay. So it's crazy that this is the topic that we're talking about today. It's just really serendipity. So to expand, I am a college counselor. I work with students who are trying to figure out, where they want to go to school. And what I really focus on is helping them write essays and kind of come up with a narrative that is personally meaningful and that shows something to folks who are, in Monica's seat, which is on the admission side, and helps them get a sense of, who this student is. And basically, gaming is kind of it's a yellow it's what you call a yellow flag topic in college counseling, because a lot of the time it's perceived as being an area of extracurriculars that aren't really extracurriculars, right? They're like a pastime that a student does. A lot of folks who are in admissions, just kind of true of the general population, but they hear that a student is a serious gamer and they think they're wasting their time. So the crucial question becomes, okay, if you're a student who does care about gaming and who games in a productive way and is really passionate about it, how do you articulate that passion to an admissions officer in a way that doesn't make them think that you're just wasting your time? and it's really hard to do because college essays just aren't easy for anyone. And when you're writing about a subject that is only sort of now becoming, kind of legitimized, I guess, in the public eye as something that's, productive and beneficial to students and contributes to community, it can be a hard kind of circle to square.
Absolutely. And how candid can I be from the admissions side, Jesse and Alex?
Maximally.
Maximally.
I mean, definitely, yeah. Go for it.
So I think one of the major things when it comes to an admission counselor reading your college essay is there's going to be a bias because that person is ultimately making a decision on whether or not you're getting into that school. They have the power and they're going to use it. They're going to say yes or no. And it's typically not based just on the college essay. It is a small portion of the entire process. But depending on whose lap your application lands on depends on what they think or perceive your essay to be or what it is. So if someone who is an admission counselor gets your essay and they don't know anything about esports, depending on the perception they have that day reading your application, maybe they're having a good day, maybe they're having a bad day, they'll be like, well, I don't give a crap about esports. I'm not going to freaking read this, and then kind of like go through it sort of thing. So depending on the counselors, depending on who is reading the essay, kind of depends on what happens with it sometimes. So one of the things that I have counseled students in, being candid about this, is just sharing about you through that topic. So if I'm talking about esports, how did esports help me as a person develop skills, develop my character, become a better human being? How can I communicate that through this essay topic? It's a challenging thing to weave between, for sure. But I want to definitely pass the ball before I share too much.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And I've read quite a few college essays, mostly through working with Al over the past some odd years. But the most powerful ones that I've read pretty consistently, and Al, I know this is something you preach, and maybe you can speak a bit more to this, but those that are able to articulate really honest, coherent introspection, really it's a moment for introspection, self-reflection, using gaming and their relationship with gaming as sort of a mechanism and
yes,
catalyst for telling that story of their growth and their journey or whatever it may be, and hopefully not in a cliche way. That's how you get a strong college essay is here's who I am, here's where I've come from, here's something that was important to me, here's how it's interwoven with my experience as a gamer, and here's where I plan to go, or something along those lines. I know, Al, that's something you sort of preach maybe in different words to your students.
So like if you put yourself in the shoes of an all-powerful being who's trying to like design the perfect college campus and community,
that happens right after I brush my teeth every morning.
Right, exactly. I enter into this transcendent state. But like you're gonna pick students who you think have embody or represent certain characteristics and strengths, right? And so you're gonna want students who have serious academic passion and who are driven to learn. You're going to want students who are, inclusive and like kind. You're going to want students who are really outspoken, driven members of any community that they join, right? And like work to make it better through, activism and, just taking initiative. So if you're writing an essay about gaming, it's really helpful to think how can the essay not be about gaming per se, but how can it be about one of these sort of larger macro values like intellectual vitality, right? Is like, it's kind of a cliche term, but it's super important to demonstrate for a lot of schools. And if you're someone who is, for example, like say you're really, really passionate about sabermetrics, right? Like the statistical analysis of your own gameplay. And like after every game, you watch your VOD, you go look at, GYO score, you have your analytics that you're pulling up. and you're trying to think, or maybe you're watching pro play and you're actually looking at and analyzing individual kind of player stat lines and career, etc. That's a great way to talk about basically your passion for analysis, for statistics, and gaming becomes then the context of that essay, but it's not about gaming, period, full stop. It's about some larger intellectual interest. Or say like, just another quick example is like maybe for you, drive to overcome obstacles is you feel really proud of like your meteoric rise from like bronze to grandmaster in league, right? And you want to talk about the challenges you've overcome in improving your gameplay. Let's focus on one particular moment, like for example, like maybe like vision score, right? And like how difficult it is to like place wards every game. Focus on something that's a small moment and talk about the personal dynamics that kind of evolve around that, right? Like, what did it take for you to affect a transformation in your thinking, your habits, to improve? That's a good story. Just focusing on like that cliche about like me and my team like went up against Harvard High School and came and beat them in the last moment to like really win out and blew everyone's mind. That's not a story that reflects on the applicant,
Yes.
or on sort of personal strengths or values. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I would get rejected from every school I applied to if I wrote my essay on my vision score, because I place a grand total of like one ward a game. It's my first ward.
You always gotta buy a pink. Come on.
I know I'm not a pink buyer. I should be, but I'm not. But yeah, I mean, Al, I want to ask you one more question that popped into my brain as you were speaking. Is as we come to the close of this podcast, what do you think, or what would you impart as the core piece of advice? Maybe one for a student and one for the parent of a student, because I know for students, who are going through the college application process, it's a super involved time for the parents of high schoolers. So what would you say to them? Maybe just around the essay in general, or the application process, or esport essay. I mean, what would be the thing you would sort of try to relay to them?
So for students, I would say like don't overthink yourself or outthink yourself. Like the college application is really hard, partly because you're submitting a piece of writing that's being judged by people you don't know, and so there can be a real anxiety about like, oh, did I write something that's really unique? Did I write something that is going to distinguish me? Don't trip about that. Focus instead on something that try to like quiet your mind and go to like, an empty room with no furniture or something and think like, what's something that actually matters to me? And that I think is both the most cliche advice in college counseling and the best advice. Because if you can talk about that, then and if you can talk about an organic, feeling oriented language, you're gonna stand out as a real human being. For parents, I think it's like there's a spectrum of support where like, you want to be supporting your student, being a sounding board for them for ideas, try to be there to edit or read a draft of their essay if they need that. But also really pay attention to like when you've gone too far and you're not actually helping the students speak for themselves, but you're sort of overriding the student's own process of kind of articulating their what's real for them. So just be willing to step back, but also be ready to step in, and that again is kind of useless. It's not useless, but it's both so not very.
I raised my hand because I wanted to piggyback off that statement quickly. We can tell when the parents write the essays. So it is very obvious.
Completely.
So sorry guys, you can't help that much, but you can help a lot. Yeah. Jesse, you're gonna say something.
I was gonna say my one piece of advice. Go download the Looking for Group college essay guide on Looking for Group or lfgroup.gg. It covers everything we've talked about in a much more eloquent way and in more depth. It's a great guide. It's completely free, good for students and parents alike, and we highly recommend it. In fact, somehow it made the prestigious list of being on our top resources category on our College News Hub tab.
Yeah, that's
somehow.
right. Looking for Group actually just announced that the Looking for Group essay guide is one of the top essay guides on the platform. So
It's coming from us, so you know it's good.
check it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. All right. Podcast number 2 down.
Yeah.
We did it. We made it to 2 podcasts.
Woohoo!
Peace
Tune
to
in.
podcasting.
Tune in for number 3, guys. You don't want to miss it.